Hey everyone, I'm going to go through one possible solution to the quiz that we had last Monday. Of course, there's different ways to do it, and feel free to ask me in class if you want to discuss other methods. In fact, after we finish lesson 7 this coming Monday, I'll show a really easy way to do it. But for now, I'm going to show, methods that I know everybody has learned up to this point. So this is the isometric view, and first thing with any object is you want to think about what the best profile is, what that first sketch should be. And in this case, it's the front view, which has the most shape. So we're going to start on the front plane, and then the next thing you want to think about is where the origin is going to be. So the origin, as it says in the bullet points, is arbitrary. We could make it anywhere, but we want to constrain it to that sketch somehow. So I'm just going to make it in the lower right corner, um, on the outside or inside, we'll see. Okay, so jumping into SolidWorks, if I click New, I've got the training templates in here now, so we have millimeters and inches. If you're just seeing the 3 default templates, click the Advanced button in the lower left corner, and this is going to be a part inch. Okay, as I said, the first sketch in this case is going to be on the front plane because that's the best profile for this particular part. Now, my origin is going to be, as I decided, in the lower right corner. But in order to just keep this one single chain of lines, I'm going to start away from the origin and um, and then constrain to the origin. So you don't have to do this, but if you notice when you're in the line command, you've got the XYZ coordinates on the status bar. So I know my part is 3 inches tall and about 2 inches wide. So I'm just gonna, it's helpful sometimes to just get in the approximate location. I got negative 1.7, 2.76 is fine. And then I can come over and you see that dashed line tells me I'm vertically aligned to the origin. So when I can come down, I can get coincident and vertical at the same time. And then I just come over and then up. And I'll just right click and chain and escape. So based on the dimensions I'm given, this is going to be the outside profile. And the other thing we notice is it's 0.25 inch typical thickness. So because of that uniform thickness, we can use offset. And as I always say in my 112 class with the 2D AutoCAD, when you're doing an offset, you want to make sure you do the fillets before you offset. Just makes it a little easier. So I'm going to get the fillet command, and now I also realize I'm going to cancel that. If I look at my dimensions, um, I have this 1.25 inch dimension going to the corner that has been rounded off on the outside by the fillet. So if I do that fillet before I do the dimension, I'm going to not have a point there. Now there's a couple of ways to deal with that, but what we've learned so far, I'm going to go ahead and dimension first. And also when you're offsetting, if you didn't really think about the scale, how far zoomed in and out you are, whenever you do offset, it's just good practice to do the dimensions, um, before you do that offset or before you do the fillets. In general, I like to sketch all my lines and then I'll do the dimensions. But certain cases like this, we'll want to do the dimension first because we're going to lose this corner. And so there is another way to deal with that, but I'm just going to go ahead and dimension it. You can see I sketched it looking at the coordinates. It's almost the correct size. It's 1.25, and these were my outside dimensions. 3, this was 2.25. And we have 1.75. Okay, so okay that. So now I can do the fillet. And when you look back at the dimensions on the isometric view, um, actually it's in a note. The fillet says inside fillets 0.125 inches, but we sketched the outside. So there's a couple ways to deal with this, but we're going to calculate what the outside radius would be. So if it's 0.125 on the inside and it's going to be a 1/4 inch thickness, then we're going to take 0.125. Yeah, turn on number lock. 0.125 plus 0.25. So the inner radius plus the thickness gives you the outer radius. And it ends up being 3/8 of an inch or 0.375. And while I'm in the same sketch fillet, I can go through and do the other two fillets. So that was the corner that I'm going to lose that I was talking about. Keep constrained corners so that 1.25 won't lose its place. Okay. Now I can offset, and you just pick any of these lines. It's going to take the whole chain of lines, and I can type in 0.25, enter. And then the only issue I see now is the ends are open. And you could draw lines in there after the fact, but there's a checkbox option that says cap ends over here in the property manager. And it defaults to arcs, but you have lines or arcs. Kind of reminds me of the multi-line command in AutoCAD. So we want lines. So that's the easy way to cap that off. It's automatically going to add the 0.25 inch dimension. We can just drag that out to make it easier to see. And then we are still underdefined, so I forgot to do the angle down here. So for an angle, just pick one line, pick the other line, and we can put in 40 degrees. And now we're fully defined. So we always want to make sure that's fully defined. And then we can exit the sketch and extrude. And then this is going to be 1.5. And I'm just going to hit OK. And then we need to do the two holes. So this is just a simple hole. Oftentimes I'll just sketch a circle and extrude cut it. A lot of people use the hole wizard, which is also fine. And I'm in a hole wizard mood, so I'll do the hole wizard. And we have it set for simple hole, or just hole. It's set to dowel, 1/2 inch, which will work. Drill size will also work. So once you have the position typeset, go to positions, and we just plot a point there. Now notice the pencil icon, you're in a sketch just like any other sketch. So, I could add relations, draw construction lines, dimensions. So we know this is 5/8 of an inch from this edge. Now it's supposed to be in the middle, so it's perfectly acceptable to dimension the half width of this, but I'd prefer to use a relation, so I'll get out of dimension. And if I just click this point and hold Control and then hover till I get the midpoint, I might have to right click sometimes, like midpoint. Then I can add or try this again. Let me get the midpoint first. I had a little trouble with that, so what I'll do is just draw a line from the midpoint to the center of that, and then I'll click on the line and just make it horizontal. All right, so that's fully defined. And oh, the type, let's look at the depth, because I don't want this to go all the way through to the bottom. So oftentimes the default will be, I don't know, either be blind or through all, or just whatever the last one you use. So I definitely don't want through all. If you do blind, that'll work, but then if you change this, you want to make sure it's always going to cut enough of the depth. So up to next is a good option here, because then it'll just go to the next face and stop. Alternatively, you could do it on the bottom face and extrude up all the way, which I'll do for this hole. So I'm going to do hole wizard again. And should be all the same. Go position, go on there, and then do my center line again from the midpoint. Make that horizontal. And then put a dimension in here. What was it from this edge? 625. And then this one we can do up to next or through all is fine. Either one would work. Okay, and then the last thing you had to do was apply an appearance. So right here on the heads up view toolbars, one way to do it is click edit appearance. And then the task pane opens, which you can go through these folders and find an appearance, or you can just go into property manager, scroll down, pick a color out of here, and say okay. All right, and that is the finished part, I believe. Yes. All right, again, so I will show an even easier way to do this once we finish lesson 7 with something called a thin feature. All right, see you guys in class.